The waiting room on the 42nd floor of the Willis Tower in Chicago was designed to intimidate. Everything was glass, chrome, and aggressive shades of charcoal gray. It was beautiful in a cold, heartless way, but for 26-year-old Alina, it felt like a cage. She sat on the edge of a leather chair, clutching her portfolio case so tightly her knuckles had turned white. She kept her head angled down, her dark hair swept intentionally over the left side of her face. It was a habit she had formed over 12 years. A shield, because underneath that curtain of hair lay the map of her survival, a network of thick, ridged burn scars that ran from her left cheekbone down to her collarbone, the result of a house fire that had taken her childhood home but spared her life. The receptionist hadn't looked Alina in the eye once. She had just stared at the scar, then quickly looked away, as if looking too long would burn her too. "Mr. Vance will see you now." Alina took a breath. She smoothed her thrift store blazer and walked into the office of Vance and Associates. David Vance sat behind a desk that cost more than Alina's college tuition. He was young, slick, and on his phone. He didn't stand up. He barely glanced at her. "Sit," he commanded. Alina sat. "Mr. Vance, thank you for seeing me. I graduated top of my class at—" "I know where you graduated," Vance interrupted. He finally put the phone down. His eyes didn't go to her portfolio. They went straight to the left side of her face. His expression wasn't one of sympathy. It was one of distaste, like he had found a smudge on his expensive suit. "Look," Vance sighed, "your grades are impressive, but at Vance and Associates we sell an image. We deal with high-end clients, people who want perfection." Alina felt the heat rise in her neck. "My design work is perfection, Mr. Vance. It's not about the drawings." "Sweetie," he said, offering a patronizing smile. "It's about the face of the company, and frankly, your look, it's a bit traumatic. We can't have people uncomfortable in meetings." The air left the room. It was the 5th rejection this month, the 5th time her brilliance was dismissed because of her skin. Alina stood up. She didn't scream, she didn't cry, she just grabbed her portfolio. "My scars are the reason I survived," she said quietly. "And they are the reason I build things that last. It's a shame you can't see the difference between a building and a decoration." She turned and walked out. She held her head high until she reached the elevator. But the moment the metal doors slid shut, she slumped against the wall. A single tear tracked through the ridges of her scar, but the elevator wasn't empty. In the back corner, obscured by the shadows, stood an older man in a worn-out trench coat. "That was a hell of a thing you set up there," he grumbled. His voice was gravelly, like stones grinding together. Alina jumped, wiping her face quickly. "Excuse me. About building things that last," the man said. He stepped into the light. He looked tired. "My name is Arthur. I run a firm down on State Street. It's not glass and chrome, it's mostly brick and dust. But we need someone who knows how to fight. You looking for a job?" Arthur Sterling's office was nothing like the tower. It was located in a converted warehouse in the Loop. The L train rattled the windows every 8 minutes. Inside, the office was chaotic. Blueprints were piled on tables. The air smelled of stale coffee. When Alina walked in, the other employees stared. The pity, the curiosity, the aversion. Alina instinctively pulled her hair forward. "Everyone back to work," Arthur barked. "This is Alina. She's starting today." For the first 2 weeks, Alina was a ghost. She worked from a storage closet in the back. She produced renderings at a speed that baffled the others, but she kept her door closed. One rainy Tuesday, Arthur slammed a roll of drawings onto her desk. He looked stressed. "I need you to look at this," Arthur said. "It's the CENT, Jude's Children's Trauma Center. The city is taking bids for a new wing. It's a $20 million contract." Alina looked at the plans. They were fine, standard, a boxy hospital wing with fluorescent lights. "It's functional," Alina said. "It's garbage," Arthur corrected her. "And if we submit this, we lose. And if we lose this bid, Alina, I have to close the doors. Vance's firm is the favorite. They're proposing some glass spaceship that looks cool but has no soul." Leaned in, his hands resting on her desk. He didn't look at her scar. He looked right into her eyes. "I hired you because you understand survival," Arthur said. His voice dropped to a whisper. "These kids, the patients, they've been burned, broken, hurt. They don't need a sterile box. They need a place that tells them it's okay to be broken. I need you to redesign it, all of it." "Mr. Sterling, I've been here 2 weeks." "I don't care about titles," Arthur snapped. "I care about truth. You have 3 days. Don't give me architecture. Give me a sanctuary." He walked out. Alina stared at the paper. She traced the lines of the sterile hospital rooms. Suddenly, she wasn't in the office anymore. She was 7 years old, waking up in a hospital bed, terrified of the lights, terrified of the face she saw in the mirror. She grabbed a fresh sheet of drafting paper. She pulled her hair back, exposing her face to the empty room. She didn't need to hide now. She needed to use it. She began to draw. Not straight lines, but curves, not white walls, but textured stone, light that didn't glare but embraced. By Friday morning, the office was buzzing with tension. Arthur paced the main floor. "Where is she?" The door to the back office opened. Alina stepped out. She looked exhausted, but her eyes were burning with a strange intensity. She laid the new renderings on the central conference table. The silence that followed was absolute. It wasn't a hospital. It was a garden carved from stone and wood. The ceilings curved like protective wings. Lighting was designed to mimic the rhythm of a forest. It was a building that felt like a hug. The recovery rooms, Alina said, her voice raspy. They don't face the hallway, they face the atrium. No one feels watched, they feel held. Arthur stared at the drawings, his hands were shaking. "It's beautiful," he whispered, tears shone in his tired eyes. "It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Then his face hardened. "Pack it up, we're going to the board." "We?" Alina asked, shrinking back. "No, you go, I can't." "You designed it," Arthur said. "You have to explain it." "I can't." Alina's voice cracked. "Look at me, Arthur. They're looking for a soothing environment. If I walk in there with this face, they'll be disgusted. Just like Vance said, I will lose this for you." Arthur walked around the table. He stood inches from her. "Vance is a fool," Arthur said softly. "He thinks beauty is symmetry. He thinks perfection is the absence of pain. You prove him wrong every time you take a breath." He handed her the roll of drawings. "You've been hiding in the dark for 12 years, Alina. It's time to step into the light. Are you with me?" Alina took a deep breath. She thought of the children who would be in that hospital, who would fight for them if she didn't. She nodded. "I'm with you." The boardroom was cavernous. A long mahogany table sat in the center, and there, standing near the front with a smug grin, was David Vance. "Desperation looks ugly on you, Arthur." Vance sneered as they passed. "Bringing the circus to a business meeting." Arthur didn't break stride. "Watch and learn, David." Vance went first. His presentation was slick, animated fly-throughs, upbeat music. His hospital looked like a five-star hotel, impressive, expensive, and completely soulless. "Thank you, Mr. Vance," the chairman said. "Mr. Sterling, you're up." Arthur stood up. He walked to the podium. He looked pale. He adjusted the microphone, but his hand gripped his chest. He swayed slightly. Arthur started, then coughed. "I'm here to present." He stumbled. He grabbed the podium for support. He looked back at Alina. His eyes were pleading. He couldn't do it. Arthur wheezed, waving a hand at Alina. "She will present." The room turned. 20 pairs of eyes locked onto Alina. She felt the familiar burn of shame. She felt the urge to run. Vance chuckled from the side of the room. "Is this a joke?" That laugh did it. That laugh ignited a spark in Alina's gut that was hotter than the fire. She stood up. She walked to the front of the room. She stood in front of the podium. She didn't try to hide her face. In fact, she reached up and tucked her hair behind her ear, exposing the scar completely to the harsh fluorescent lights. A collective gasp rippled through the room. "My name is Alina," she said. Her voice was steady. "And I know what you're looking at." She gestured to her face. "You're looking at pain. You're looking at trauma, and your instinct is to look away." She placed the first rendering on the easel. It showed the atrium of her design, warm, safe, embracing. "Mr. Vance showed you a hotel," Alina continued. "He showed you a place where people go to pretend they aren't sick, but I designed a place for people who know they are broken and need to know that they can still be whole." She pointed to the curved walls. "When you are in pain, sharp edges feel like threats. Bright lights feel like interrogations. I designed this wing based on the architecture of recovery. The walls curve because recovery isn't a straight line." The room was dead silent. Even Vance had stopped smiling. "I spent 2 years in a hospital," Alina said, her voice softening. "I know what the ceiling looks like at 3 a.m. when you're crying. This building doesn't ignore the scars. It honors them. It tells the children that just because they are different now doesn't mean they are finished." She finished. She stood there, exposed, breathing hard. For a long, agonizing moment, there was silence. Then the chief of surgery, a stern woman in her 60s, stood up. She had tears streaming down her face. She began to clap. Slowly, then all at once, the donors stood. The chairman stood. The applause grew louder and louder. It wasn't polite applause. It was thunderous. Arthur looked up at Alina and smiled. The headline in the Chicago Tribune the next morning read, "The Beauty of Resilience." Sterling Heritage won the contract by a landslide. Arthur promoted Alina to partner, but the real victory wasn't the promotion or the money. It came on the day the St. Jude's wing finally opened. Alina stood in the atrium she had designed. It was real now. The stone was warm to the touch. She saw a little girl sitting on a bench near the indoor garden. The girl was about 8 years old. She had bandages wrapped around her arms and neck. She was sitting with her head down, trying to disappear. Alina walked over and sat down next to her. The girl looked up. Her eyes went wide when she saw Alina's face. She saw the ridges, the discoloration, but she didn't look away with fear. She looked with recognition. "You have marks," the little girl whispered, touching her own bandaged neck. "Like me?" Alina smiled. "I do. They're my map." "Map?" the girl asked. "Yeah," Alina said, looking around the beautiful, safe building she had created from her own darkness. "They show me where I've been, and they remind me that I was strong enough to get here." The little girl took a deep breath, her shoulders relaxing for the first time. "You're pretty," the little girl said. Alina felt a lump in her throat. "So are you." Arthur watched from the balcony above. He wiped his eye. He knew he had done something far more important than saving a company. He had helped someone turn their tragedy into a triumph. The world had told Alina to hide, but she had taken the pieces the world rejected and built a cathedral. In the end, we are not defined by the scars we carry, but by what we choose to build with them. Thanks for watching. If Alina's story touched your heart, please subscribe and visit the channel for more inspiring real-life stories.